Now, some plants in your garden are really difficult, or seem to be difficult, and rhododendrons and azaleas are the lime-hating plants. So now it's some tips to keep those in tip-top condition. Now, you're not going to use all your tea bags for getting rid of the cats on your borders. You're going to save the rest of them, and you're going to steep them in water like I have done here. Because what we're talking about now are lime-hating plants. And I've got 3 here: Skimmia, azalea, and the good old classic rhododendron. And they're all looking pretty good in my garden because I'm giving them what they're looking for, which is iron. Now, they're lime-hating plants because the lime in the soil, or any lime in the soil, will lock up the iron, and they can't get hold of it, and the leaves go horrible yellow. So what you might do is go to the garden centre and buy some iron compounds, some sequestrine. But you haven't got to bother to do that. Just save your tea bags, put them in water. At the end of the week, you've got the best iron plant feed you could ever wish for. And just pour it around the base of the plant, and the job's done. Now, I'd always try, if I can, to save as many seeds from the garden as possible. And in the autumn time, it can be a bit difficult trying to find little pots to put them in. But I found the perfect answer, and that's the good old egg box. And what I'm going to do now is to collect some seeds from a poppy. Now, we've got a poppy head here. Cut this off, and hopefully, by using one of these, we can tip the poppy seeds. And there are quite a few. In fact, there are hundreds upon hundreds in just one of those poppy seed heads. And those I would go in the garden collecting different sorts of seeds, putting them in here and labelling the individual containers, getting back into the house, find a paper bag to put each sort of seed in, and then they will be kept dry and cool, ready to plant out in the spring. To get a head start on your flower border, the important thing is to get the little plants out early in the year. But there's always the problem of, is the frost gone? Is it going to come back? And the way to do that is to make use of one of these, the good old pop bottle. With the bottom cut off, it becomes a miniature cloche. So any little new plant that you want to protect in early spring, you can do it quite easily. Now, first of all, mineral felt. Maybe you've been re-roofing the garden shed. Bits of this, you'd chuck it away, chuck it in the skip, save some bits, because these are brilliant for keeping the slugs and the snails away. Not only are they rough, which does affect their belly as they try and crawl over it, but on a hot summer's evening, the smell of bitumen, they hate it. So make a little collar of 2 pieces of mineral felt around any plant you want to protect, and the job's done. Now, you can also use the same pop bottle that we use for that early protection against slugs and snails by simply cutting it into little 2-inch rings. Now, believe it or not, these are sharp enough round the edge to keep the slugs and snails from climbing over them. This is a little baby sunflower here, planted this out earlier on in the year, and we did just that. We put the little protective ring around, and no damage at all from slugs and snails. So it does work. And we can also use wash day blues to keep those munching enemies away. And here we have some washing powder, a sprinkling of that around a plant. I know it's only a temporary measure, but it really does work. It clogs up their slime glands. It gets into their little holes, and they just can't move over it. And it's actually quite fun to watch because they foam up. The more slime they produce, you get a big foaming bubble, and you know exactly where they are. You also know exactly where slugs and snails are if you use a bit of citrus appeal. We've got half shells of oranges and half shells of grapefruit, strategically placed around the garden. And hopefully, if we look under here, there they are, the little munching menaces. No more will you attack my plants. So there we are. They will be attracted by the smell of the citrus. And one last tip to give you, and I think it's probably the most effective, the most organic way of keeping slugs and snails off your garden, away from your plants, and that, believe it or not, is horsehair. Now, horsehair is an amazing thing. When you smell it, of course, you get that pungent whiff of horse grease. It smells horrible, but it's that horse grease that does the trick. So you put a ring of horsehair around your plants and use some little bits of wire bent over to hold that horsehair firmly in place. Don't make the mistake of putting bricks, because they'll climb over the bricks to get at your plant. And what happens now, they try and get at the plant, and as they crawl over the hair, all of a sudden they start to sizzle, because the grease in the horsehair reacts with their slime to make an acid that actually burns them. Have you ever seen a horse covered in snails? Well, it's got to work then, hasn't it?